Okay, so in this example, we will be doing some trigo differentiation with product and quotient rule. So the rule will be the same product rule, of course. So remember, when do you use your product rule? Okay, you use the product rule when both the product contain X. Okay, so it will be okay, so product rule will be dy dx equal to v du dx plus u dv dx. Okay, so do your usual product rule. So do your u and v. So cosine x. So differentiate cosine x is a minus sine x. Okay, after that, try to combine them. So it doesn't change. The formula doesn't change. So you multiply the u dv dx plus v du dx. Okay, whichever order you would like to combine. So in this case, I will combine x squared and minus sine x. I think some of you will be more used to writing this first than this. So it's fine because product rule is a plus. So you can plus it, doesn't matter. Okay, then add the other one. So that will be 2x cosine x. So in this case, this is my answer. There's not much simplification here. Only maybe taking out x as a common factor. So this is the only simplification. Okay, so this product rule is the easier version. Okay, so the next one will be a quotient rule. The numerator contain x, the denominator also contain x. So v du dx minus u dv dx. So don't forget quotient rule is a subtraction. So you got to start off with v first. Okay, so u is my numerator. So I do my differentiation. So differentiate 1 is a 0. Differentiate my sine x is a cosine x. So v is a cosine x. Differentiate, I will get minus sine x. So I'm going to combine into my quotient rule. So combine with the v first. So when you combine with the v, you actually get a cosine square. Okay, then you combine the other direction. Okay, divide by v square. So if you combine into the formula, you should see that there's a lot of simplification that you can do. So there's a lot to simplify in the numerator. So do expand out the bracket. And when you expand out the bracket, you realize that there's a sine square. So some of you might leave it in this way. But those who are sensitive to your formula, do you realize this part has a common factor? So do you realize this part has a common factor? And when you take out the common factor, do you recognize something that you have seen in your trigo? So do you recall that this is one of your trigo formula? So sine square plus cosine square is equal to 1. So anyway, this one is given in your exam list. So this is a trigo formula that you can actually execute. So which is a numerical one. So my whole dy dx is actually very much simplified if I apply the formula. So that is my dy dx. So if you're thinking, do I need to apply the formula? Usually they will put in some trigo proving in differentiation of trigo. So at that point, you actually got no choice. They will force you to execute some trigo formula. So if they decide to put in trigo proving, so trigo differentiation is something where they will mix in with trigo proving. So that will be the quotient rule that involve a little bit of trigo formula. So the subsequent one, okay, again, another product rule, another quotient rule. Okay, so set your U, set your V. So you gotta be very focused with your mini differentiation. So the first part is easy. Now, when it comes to differentiate tangent 5x, so this is the one where the angle is not x. So you must remember, you differentiate the function first, then you differentiate the angle. So it actually gave you 5 secant square 5x. So make sure you remember about differentiating your angle. One of the common mistakes a lot of students make is they forget. So I will combine using my product rule. Okay, I will do this direction first. Followed by this direction. So again, there's nothing much that you can simplify if you realize I don't have a common factor. So you just leave it. That's actually your answer already. Okay. So for trigo differentiation, it's not so much of simplification if you make sure that you simplify correctly and you don't see any formulas. So that's it. That's your answer. Okay, the next one, quotient rule. So the numerator contain a power. So don't forget, what does the power indicate? So it's cosine square 7x. So you are doing your chain rule. So bring down power, minus power, and then you differentiate inside. So when you differentiate inside, you got the function to differentiate, where you get a minus sine 7x. Then you differentiate the angle. So don't forget about this. And then in this case, you'll be getting a minus 14 cosine 7x sine 7x. So at this point, you can actually leave it in this way. Okay, but if you do recognize the double angle, so if you do recognize the double angle formula, so do you realize this part is actually your sine 14x? Okay, it may not be a must for you to do that, but again, if they put in trigo proving, then you might need this part. So let's recall double angle first. So double angle looks like this. So that is a generic double angle. So in our case, right, we got the 7x. So I got sine 7x, I got cosine 7x. That's why if I condense it back, I should get a sine 14x. It's the doubling of the angle. Okay, so that is just in the first part. Okay, V is x. In this case, dv dx is quite clean. Okay, then I execute into my quotient rule. So starting from V is multiplied with this part. So I get minus 7x sine 14x. Then I'm going to subtract this part. So I'm going to subtract a cosine square 7x divided by denominator square, which essentially is just x squared. And if you see, right, there's nothing to simplify. So that's my answer. Nothing much to simplify. The only take out common factor could be the negative sign in the numerator. But I can just leave it there. Okay, so there's a slight trigo formula here. Do you need to do that? Depends on the question. Let's say you didn't do that. Let's say you never do the double angle. So you will be using this part. Oh, sorry. Let's say you never use the double angle. You will be using this with this. So if you don't use the double angle, so you'll be using this with this. So the answer will still be correct, but you will end up with a bit more to factorize. You will have the cosine 7x to factorize. So you might as well factorize out the negative. So you get a 14x sine 7x plus cosine 7x. So both answers look quite different. So you might feel that this answer and this answer look very different, but they are the same. So if there is no need for the double angle, then it can be the second answer. If you use the double angle, it will be this one. So whether you need it or not, the question will indicate. Because if the question decides that it needs some trigo proving, then you will need to do some double angle. Okay, so purely question dependent. So you don't have to think too much whether you need to apply the formula or not. Okay, so that is the product rule and quotient rule that involve trigo.